Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street, and today we are getting around, not breaking, but bypassing some iTunes DRM. Okay, so on this channel, aside from our single most popular video, which is about ripping DVDs, everything I've told you guys how to do involving computers is 100% legal, and even that video, you know, if you've got a DVD with home movies on it, you should know how to rip those movies off of it if you want to. And if you've purchased a DVD, I don't see anything ethically wrong with ripping it for your own personal viewing on your computer. We're not going to get into that in this video, because we're not trying to make DVD companies mad right now. In this video, we're trying to make record companies mad, because in this video, I'm talking about how to get around iTunes DRM. Now, if you buy a song today from iTunes, DRM free. And that's why I buy my songs from iTunes today, because it's DRM free. I can go into iTunes, buy a song, and play it under Linux without having iTunes installed, because iTunes obviously is not made for Linux. However, back in like 2009, if you bought a song from iTunes, it was encrypted with FairPlay DRM, and it was also encoded at a lower bit rate than iTunes offers today. So even though this was way back in 2009, and that might not be the specific year, but around 2009, if you bought a song from iTunes and it came with DRM and a lower bit rate, even if, you know, your friend who doesn't own the song on iTunes might buy the same song today and they're going to get it DRM free and at a higher bit rate, if you bought that song back in 2009 and you delete it from your computer and you re-download it from the iTunes store or from iCloud or whatever they want to call it, your copy of the song, every copy of the song that you download with your account, is still going to have FairPlay DRM on it, and it's still going to be the lower bit rate. And if you want to get around that, Apple's official solution is to purchase an iTunes Match subscription for $25. Now, what iTunes Match is supposed to do is if you own a physical CD, it's supposed to give you ownership of those songs on iTunes. But instead, they're recommending that you pay for iTunes Match so that you can get ownership of the songs on iTunes that you already own on iTunes. Now, that doesn't seem ethical of them to do that to me. Now, I'm just talking about like music files here, and if you really want to just go and find DRM-free versions of those songs, you can do that without going the official route, or without doing whatever I'm about to do. You can go and you can find versions of the songs that you can play on any operating system, whether or not you have iTunes installed, pretty easily. This video is for those of us who don't want to do that. Maybe we just hold ourselves to a little bit higher standard, and we want to do things as officially as possible. However, I'm starting college next year, and as a soon-to-be poor college kid, I can't just be spending $25 on the off chance that iTunes might give me higher quality DRM-free versions of the songs that I own if I pay, like I said, $25 for an iTunes Match subscription for 1 month. Now, Apple doesn't even guarantee that if you get the iTunes Match subscription, you'll get those DRM-free versions of the songs. They say you may get DRM-free versions of some songs. So yeah, that's how I kind of feel about it, is it's unnecessary. I think if you bought the song, I get, in 2009, DRM was normal. And in 2009, if I bought a song and downloaded it, then I understand. Those files are always going to have DRM. But I think if I delete that file and re-download it today, I think it would only be fair to get them at the highest quality available from Apple's servers, not at the quality that I purchased them at. I can kind of see where they're going with that idea, but it's really not cloud-friendly. The way that they are handling the iTunes Store content and iCloud content right now is really not cloud-friendly at all, because the idea of the cloud is that, you know, you always are pulling the highest available quality stuff down from the cloud. You're not supposed to be limited to the physical file that you have, but that's what they're trying to artificially enforce. So, I'm not paying for iTunes Match. I've got some songs from iTunes that will not play under Linux, and I'm going to show you them failing to play under Linux. Then I'm going to attempt to digitally, basically there's this thing called the analog loophole. With any media format, whether it's audio or video, they can slap as much DRM as they want on a song file, but as long as I can physically hear it, I can make a cover of it myself, and that would be a really roundabout way of infringing copyright. or I can, I can play it out of my speaker and into a microphone. That's another way to infringe copyright. Or I could plug in one end of a cable into the audio out jack on my computer, plug the other end into the microphone jack on my computer, and I could record it that way, and that's an even higher quality way to get around DRM. I'm just throwing all these ideas out there for you guys. The way that I'm about to do this, I don't even, my computer doesn't have a dedicated sound card. I've got like the motherboard sound ports and then the case sound ports. And I'm no audiophile, but just in case I ever turn into one, I want to get the highest quality version. iTunes is limiting the quality of these songs that I'm about to try and get around the DRM on, but whatever the low quality iTunes is giving me, I do not want to degrade from that at all. So I'm going to attempt to do this digitally. And I'm going to install iTunes in a virtual machine, and then I'm going to attempt to play the song in the virtual machine and record the audio coming out of the virtual machine. And it might not even be on the virtual machine level. I need the virtual machine because I don't have Windows physically installed on this computer anymore, but it might just be the audio is going to go through the virtual machine, through the host operating system of Linux, and then it's going to get captured there before it even goes out into the speaker port. And the way I see it, that's the highest quality way I can do this without spending any money whatsoever. So let's see if it works. Alrighty, so here we are on the desktop. Now, before I open up my library right here, I use Banshee on Linux. That's my media player of choice, or it's my my audio player of choice, my jukebox player of choice. I'm going to ask you guys, please do not make fun of my audio collection. Most of these songs that you're about to see in my audio collection are not songs that I listen to on a daily basis. They are songs from my childhood. The reason why I don't delete them is the same reason why I still have Nerd on the Street videos from 3 years ago, and the same reason why I still have JK the Site videos from 5-6 years ago laying around on my hard drive. It's because I am a digital hoarder. I do not like to get rid of anything, even if I'll never need to use it again. So yeah, I'm making this video for the benefit of you guys. I'm kind of putting myself out there doing this sort of questionable stuff on camera for you guys. So please, I'm just asking, do not make fun of the songs that are in my library, because yeah, I don't listen to most of them. iTunes is still my preferred way to buy songs, but most of these songs I got on iTunes a long, long time ago. I am not breaking the DRM on them because I want to listen to them often. I'm breaking the DRM on them out of principle because I think the DRM is wrong. So, with that said, we're going to open up Banshee. And maybe I'll make a separate video about Banshee sometime, but, I just prefer to use this media player. So we can, select a song here and start playing it, and you guys should be able to hear what's going on. Yep. Alright, so what you just heard there is what we're going to try and exploit. I just played this song through Banshee, and then my screen recording software actually captured the audio straight out from Banshee. So if I had cut my talking while that was playing, then YouTube would probably flag this video for copyright infringement from those 2 seconds of audio. So yeah, you can see Around the Bend, I like this song. This is one of the songs that does not have DRM on it, and it works under Linux, which, it's interesting. This song was actually removed from my iTunes library for a while due to some DRM stuff, but they put it back. Apple put it back after a couple years of it not being in there. If you go back and listen to some older videos of me talking about Apple, I was mad that they took that out, but they put it back into my iTunes library eventually, and I've got the DRM-free version, but they didn't do that with all my songs. If we go into my Windows partition, now you can tell I cannot boot into this Windows partition because the C/Windows folder is missing. I deleted it. So that's why I'm not booting into Windows to do this video. But if we go into my user files and music and iTunes Media, and music. Alright. So if we go into the Asteroids Galaxy Tour Around the Bend and we open up this M4A file, it works perfectly fine. It plays in VLC. The cover art is there and everything. So that is what it looks like when there's no DRM. So we're getting Linux out of the equation right now, just playing the audio file off of the file system. That plays, obviously. We're going to go back to the music folder, and let's find something that doesn't play. And I'm kind of just going to go through this until I find something that doesn't play. Alright, Jonas Brothers. Like I said, don't listen to this stuff on a daily basis. The only reason I am going through these lengths to get these songs to work is because I don't think it's right. I've got these M4P files sitting around, taking up space. These are taking up space on my file system. This is a 2.9 megabyte file. Oh, and it crashed VLC, thanks. 2.9 megabyte file, so I know the audio's in there, but when I try and open it up, it crashes VLC because, you know, Apple's got that great DRM, making sure the Jonas Brothers don't get their music ripped off. This isn't even my favorite Jonas Brothers album, okay? This Jonas Brothers album was, like, weak in comparison to the previous one. The one that started with SOS, and it had Hold On, it had a lot of good songs on that other Jonas Brothers album. You know, I don't even own that on iTunes. I've got the physical DVD of that one. I'll put the name of it up on the screen. But yeah, this isn't even my favorite Jonas Brothers album, all right? But, you know, kind of pisses me off that if I try and open this, let's see what MPV does with it. MPV, all right, MPV actually does better than VLC. MPV gets farther, it gets the cover art, but then still don't get any audio because, like I said, digital restrictions management right there. So this is what we use as our testing is, well, let's use Burnin' Up because it's a better song than BB Good. We'll use Burnin' Up as our testing track. So you guys saw what happens when there's no DRM is I can open the file up in VLC and, you know, play it, skip through, do whatever. Whereas when there is DRM and I try and open it with VLC, nothing, absolutely nothing. So that is what we use for testing. I just saw the cover art pop up for 2 seconds or 2 milliseconds there. All right, now we're gonna boot into Ubuntu, which right now I'm in Antergos/Arch Linux. We're gonna boot into Ubuntu and pick this video up, and I'm going to see if we can get iTunes installed in that virtual machine. Alrighty, so here we are on the Ubuntu desktop. You can tell because it's the freaking Ubuntu desktop. We're in Unity now, and you can tell this is my gaming installation because we've got a bunch of games all over the side of our panel. All over our side panel, I don't know. We're gonna open up GNOME boxes, and usually I go to VirtualBox when I'm doing virtual machines, but I decided to try out GNOME boxes for my Windows 8 installation here because I heard since it uses KVM and QEMU and some really low-level Linux stuff, it might have better performance for gaming, which is what this installation is for, is gaming. So yeah, that is why I installed this virtual machine in GNOME boxes rather than with VirtualBox. And so far, it's actually been pretty darn smooth experience and installed really nicely. GNOME box has really polished up the Linux virtualizer stuff. And then yeah, once it's installed, it's just basically, you know, Windows. Pretty decent performance. Hopefully it's not like messing up our recordings or anything, but I think we're fine. So we'll type in, what was my pin? There's my pin, all right. I like that Windows 10 lets me have a pin. Oh yeah, I named this Windows 8, but it's Windows 10 now. I like that Windows 10 lets me have a pin so I don't have to type my real, you know, Microsoft account password into the computer every time I'm doing a video. That's kind of nice. All right, so here we are in Windows 10, and like I said, the reason I'm in here is because, unfortunately, Apple does not offer iTunes for Linux, because if they did that, then I wouldn't be having this problem at all. Rather than using Banshee, I could just use iTunes under Linux, but they don't. So I have to install iTunes in my virtual machine. Yes, I'm using Microsoft Edge. The reason I didn't install Firefox or Chrome or anything in this virtual machine is because it's not meant for web browsing. You know, if I'm web browsing, it's going to be in Firefox on Linux. So I left Edge on here to sort of just make sure I remember not to do web browsing in Windows 10 because it eats all of your data up when you do that. But we're going to go ahead and search iTunes because I don't freaking, when you're in a new tab, how do you even get, oh. See, you have to click on that blank space to get the freaking address bar. Horrible design. Microsoft Edge, really bad design. We're going to open up the iTunes website, and hopefully this is the real iTunes website, not a freaking, like, virus link. It looks legit, apple.com. Always check the spelling before you download anything. All right, we don't need any of this. Download. Okay, at least it didn't ask if I wanted to run or save, because I always want to save, because that one time I click run, then the installation fails and I have to download it again. Alrighty, that's running security scan. All right, so now we can click run, and now we will install iTunes. And if you haven't done this, what you can do, go online, grab a Windows 10 ISO, install it. Don't put in a key. You don't have to buy Windows to do this. Just use the 30-day free trial of Windows because they offer that. You know, you can use Windows for 30 days for free without putting in a key. You can actually use it beyond that, but it won't even bug you about it for the first 30 days. So I don't really need anything. And all right, and install. Thanks Windows 8, Windows 10. Thanks, Windows 10. It says Windows 8 because I used a Windows 8 DVD to install it, and a Windows 8 key, and I upgraded it all the way up to Windows 10. It's nice that it didn't make me go to Windows 8.1 first. Like, you can go from 7 all the way up to 10 in just one step. That is the best part about Microsoft's pushing Windows 10, is that you don't have to do every upgrade in between. You can go directly from Windows 7 to Windows 10 without a DVD or anything. The worst part about Windows 10 is Windows 10, and that is why this is a virtual machine in Ubuntu and not the other way around like it used to be for my gaming installation. Installing new services. I cannot wait to see what new services there are. If you just read through this stuff, it makes you wonder why it has to go through so many steps. Alright, we'll authenticate again. Thanks, Windows 10. And it looks like we're done here, so we will finish and open iTunes. Agree to that. Agree to that box saying we won't try and break the DRM. Little do they know. Alright. Share details about your library. I mean, whatever. Sure. iTunes Store. Let's see if the new Ruby soundtrack is out yet. Ruby, Volume 3. Is it really? No, that's the, it's not it. No, it is not out yet. Alright, that's okay. It's alright, so we'll go to my library. And I was wondering why none of my music was here. It's because I haven't signed in yet. So maybe I should do that. We'll sign in, and it doesn't capture my keyboard. And this is a little problem with gnome boxes that I've got sometimes. Yeah, this just isn't working. So I have to exit out of there and go back in. Nope. Yeah, we got to restart this computer to get the keyboard to work. Yeah, that's happened before, you know. Not too big of a problem, but it's never happened with VirtualBox. I don't know why it's happening with gnome boxes. Alrighty, logging in once again here. Looks like our keyboard's working for now. Gonna stop working as soon as we open up iTunes again. Alright. Nope. Stop it. What are you... Okay. Awesome. So, what's happened here is I opened up the sign-in box. It grabbed control of, you know, of my mouse. And then it opened up the quick tour, and I can't X out of the quick tour because it won't let me until I get that sign-in box resolved. Because that's part of the iTunes window. That is horrible UI. Look at that. Look, if I go here, get back out of this, and then go back to the quick tour, now I can X out. Now I can X out. Alrighty. People wonder why I use Linux and not Windows or Mac designed by these awesome companies. Alright, we're logging in. Accessing iTunes Store. My music. And there's our recently added. Can't wake up. Yep, that's recently added. So I have no excuse for that one. But if we scroll through here and we find what we're looking for, boy, lots of great cannon fodder here. And I appear to have missed it. So we're gonna have to keep going through until I can find it. Here it is. Alright, Jonas Brothers. A little bit longer. So, your computer's not off? Okay. That's, I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Because, yeah, now, okay. Now it's going through every single song. Stop it. I'm not authorized. Now it said go to the store. Alright, is this our menu? Yeah, iTunes Store. Authorize this computer. I don't know what magic it does when you click authorize, but it has to do with DRM. Yep, I've authorized 4 out of my available 5 computers. I will never have to authorize a computer again, so that's great. So now if I play this, no, you're not gonna let me? Really? There we go. Alright, so this is what it's supposed to sound like, and let's make sure that, Alright, so we're definitely picking up some audio. Hopefully, you know, we're getting these audio sample errors. That may mean that the audio is going to be wonky for you guys, but the song is playing now because we're in iTunes and we've authorized our computer. They know that we're not, they know we're not pirating this. So if I play this, we can see it. And I'm running Linux on the host computer, but I can hear the song in this Windows virtual machine, and that right there is where the problem lies. So what we're going to do is, like I said, I'll go back and do this with every single one of my DRM songs later. For now, we're just trying to get this one song working for proof of concept. What we're going to do is, actually, I can just let this play through. I don't have to turn off my mic. I don't have to do anything because really, you know, if this is capturing, let me go and see if that audio was good or not. All right, the audio was good. When it stuttered for me, it stuttered in the video, which is to be expected, but it wasn't stuttering in the video any more than it was stuttering for me. So we're going to, I'm going to play this through, so we're not clipping. We'll turn that to the half volume, and then we're going to watch this happen. There we go. Yeah, that's not clipping. That's well within range. And this recording can't hear what I'm saying, so. All right, it is stuttering. Yeah. Yeah, it's stuttering a little bit. Alright, let's see if we can find an alternative way to do this. Alright everyone, so here's what happened at this point. All of the audio that came out of my virtual machine was stuttering. Now, I don't know what the problem was with the virtual machine. Like I said, I'm using GNOME boxes for virtual machines right now. So if you are going to try this at home, then I would say use something like VirtualBox and see if you can get audio to play out of your virtual machine. Because in the past, I've never had issues playing audio out of virtual machines. So this method that I've started setting up here, it will work perfectly fine for you if your virtual machine can play audio without stuttering. So at first I thought the issue was within iTunes, so I downloaded QuickTime to see if I could play the DRM restricted songs in QuickTime, which first of all, you cannot play DRM restricted songs in QuickTime. Second of all, QuickTime has actually been discontinued for Windows. And third, even the audio that came out of QuickTime was stuttering, and then I downloaded a non-DRM restricted song and tried playing it in Windows Media Player. It was also stuttering. So just all of the audio coming out of my virtual machine was stuttering. So next I decided to try using a different loophole within iTunes. Rather than playing the audio out of the virtual machine and capturing it, another way you can get around iTunes DRM is by burning CDs. Because iTunes lets you burn songs to CDs even if the songs are DRM restricted, and once you burn a song to a CD, you know, CDs can't be really DRM restricted. So a really easy way to unrestrict an album in iTunes is to create a playlist out of the album, burn the album to a CD, and then rip the songs back off of the CD, and then you'll have a DRM-free version of the album. Now, the only problem with that is that I don't have a ton of CDs laying around that I wanted to waste on these songs that I'm not going to listen to very often. So I spent a while looking for ways that I could virtually trick iTunes into thinking it was burning a CD when really it was just, you know, writing to a virtual image. First, I tried making a blank ISO image and mounting it through the virtual machine. The problem with that is that blank ISO images actually aren't possible to create, so I learned that. Next up, I found a program called Magic Disk, and Magic Disk, it lets you mount ISO images within Windows, and it tricks Windows into thinking that the ISO images are actually physically inserted into the computer. So it basically does the exact same thing that the virtual machine does. You know, you can mount an ISO image as a physical CD through the Virtual Machine Manager, VirtualBox, or GNOME boxes. I also found that program called Magic Disk where you can mount an ISO image as a physical optical disk in Windows. So if you're not using a virtual machine, that might be helpful for you if you want to mount an ISO image. Now that actually took many hours to get working. Magic Disk took a long time to get installed because there were some driver components in it that Windows 10 decided it didn't want to let me install those because apparently they were too old for Windows 10. So I had to download a Microsoft Developer Toolkit to get a tool that I needed to disable compatibility checks within Windows 10. And even when I tried running the compatibility assistant within Windows 10, it said, here, we've applied some compatibility settings for you. And then you click to run the program again, and then Windows 10 shut it off again and said, this app is not compatible with your PC. It's too old. So like I said, I downloaded a Microsoft Developer Toolkit to get around that, and then I ran into some other problems. I had to install a driver component through Device Manager, but since it wasn't digitally signed by like a real source, I had to look up how to disable integrity checks within Device Manager. So I had to go into the registry and edit some stuff in the registry. I had to add a couple of files into my System32 folder, and then I had to look up how to bypass the restrictions on your System32 folder because Windows wasn't letting me write anything to my own System32 folder, even though I have administrator access on the machine. I had to manually unrestrict the System32 folder so that I could copy files into the System32 folder just to get Device Manager to not check the integrity of a driver that I needed to install. So like I said, I spent many hours getting around Windows DRM restrictions and just Windows restrictions in general, all while trying to get past these Apple restrictions. And I'm telling you all this because I'm fast forwarding through it for your viewing pleasure, but it was really ironic how much work I had to go through to get around Microsoft's restrictions in order to bypass Apple's restrictions. So after I got through all of the Windows compatibility and safety crap, and I disabled everything in Windows trying to keep me from running this program because it's going to mess up your computer, I got the program running, and that program works perfectly fine under Windows 10 if you can get it installed. It works perfectly fine for mounting ISO images. Now, like I said, that whole installation was also based on the assumption that I could figure out how to make a blank ISO image, and apparently, like I said, blank ISO images, yeah, they're not really possible to exist. So then I found yet another program. This one wasn't freeware like Magic Disk. This is like trialware. It's one of those programs where you have to use the free trial if you want to actually use it, but you know you're not going to actually pay for it once the trial's up. It's called Virtual CD, and what it lets you do is it lets you create virtual CDs. You can tell because it's called Virtual CD. So it does exactly what I needed. Virtual CD lets you create an image file, and then it lets you mount that image file within Windows as a physical CD, and then you can write to that CD and read off of it. iTunes thinks it's a physical CD, Windows thinks it's a physical CD, but you don't have to spend the money on actual CDs, and you don't have to waste physical actual CDs. You can use virtual CD. So you can, from within iTunes, write your songs out to this virtual CD, and then just import them off of the virtual CD back into iTunes, and now they don't have DRM on them anymore. So originally, I showed you guys all of that in the first cut of this video. I showed you everything that I just talked through. However, the video was like an hour and a half long. So like I said, I'm speeding through a lot of it, and I'm narrating over it to save you guys from watching me do all of that stuff that was unnecessary trying to chase after blank ISO images. I basically cut out everything that had to do with Magic Disk. Like I said, I really wish I could have kept that in because it showed how ridiculous Microsoft's restrictions on Windows 10 are. Windows 10 doesn't even let you copy files into your own System32 folder. Even if you have administrator access, you have to hack Windows 10 and change the permissions to allow administrators access into that. Whereas, I'm comparing everything in Windows to Linux. Linux, is it smart to go messing around with files in the root of your hard drive? No, it's not smart. But can you sudo into a file manager and do it? Yeah, you can do that pretty darn easily. So I wanted to keep the sentiment in this video of how ridiculous Windows' restrictions are. Windows absolutely sucks. That reinforced my decision to take Windows completely off of my hard drive and keep it in a virtual machine. But anyway, I'm just going to stop narrating now, and you guys can pick this video up where I left off. I am right about to get Virtual CD working. Alright, virtualcd-online.com. virtualcd-online.com. Virtual CD Online. virtualcd-online.com. Alright, Microsoft Edge sucks. Microsoft Edge sucks, Windows 10 sucks. Just give me this darn program. So now I'm thinking we make the blank ISO image with this program, and then we mount it with Magic Disk. Because I want to use Magic Disk for something since we went through all that trouble to install it. Alright. That is finished. Run. This video is going to be great to edit. It's going to be a really long video. Or, if it's not really long, then it took me a while to edit. Here we go. I accept. Install. At some point, we're going to cut our losses, and I'm just going to install Windows on one of these computers. I got, one of my 30 Dell Dimensions that I got laying around down here. And then I'll just use the analog loophole. But first I want to try and do it this way. Because this would be perfect quality. Other than, it's going to be lower quality than if you downloaded the songs today. But there will be absolutely no degradation in quality from what I already have if we get this working properly. Okay. Alright, launch please. Yeah, please. Please do. Okay. Creates a virtual blank. Run the blank media wizard. This is exactly what I want. Okay, so CD-ROM. Okay, create an ISO image. Alright, we're going to attempt this with the ISO image. Otherwise, we can do something else later. But for now, I'm going the way that I'm imagining. And then we can insert it with the same... Okay. We can insert it with this same program, so we don't even need magic whatever. We have a virtual disk now. Okay, so we're going to open up iTunes. If this works... This is great. Now I can just send you guys to the virtual CD online thing. Kind of sucks because it's not free, but, you know, you can use the... Yep. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now we go to our playlist. We go to our playlist, right? And this is our album. Okay. Burn playlist to disk. Okay, maximum possible. We're gonna do audio CD because that should be the highest quality one. Gap automatic. Okay. Burn. Alright, so I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Initializing. Writing. It's okay. This is great. It's doing something. Did we solve it? Did I beat you, Apple? Did I beat Apple and also Microsoft because I had to go through a ton of Windows crap? I cannot wait to see this work, guys. I'm getting my hopes up now. It's gonna be great. Canceling. Canceling disk burn. That's not what we wanted. Not exactly. Unknown error. Okay. Yeah, well, I can imagine. So that file's broken. We're going to make a new one. We won't even do the ISO thing right now. Right now we're just doing CD-ROM. We made a CD-ROM. Okay. Insert in... Yeah, we've got that. We've got that. Good. Alright. Burn playlist to disk. Burn. We're going to start playing around with iTunes settings here in a minute if this doesn't work. I know that it's getting sort of far because it's writing the actual data. It's just not closing the disk, I guess. I don't know what error it's running into. Yeah, finishing. Is it going to fail again? No! It worked! It worked! It worked. Okay. It actually worked. I heard the iTunes thing. Alright. So now... Alright, we just burnt it using iTunes. Let's import it using iTunes now. Alright, we'll do the AAC encoder. Okay. Replace existing. Replace. So now we're importing from the virtual disk back into iTunes and replacing the iTunes files with the files from the virtual disk that do not have any DRM on them. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's going to be good. We're going to do this. I'm going to include a link to the website to get this virtual CD program. I am going to save a copy of it myself just in case it ever goes down. Of course, it might not work with newer versions of Windows. I don't know if anything I did trying to get Magic CD working did anything to get Virtual CD to work so quickly, or if Virtual CD would have worked off the bat. Alright, but now if we go into our music folder, iTunes Media, Music, Jonas Brothers, a little bit longer, burning up, open with Windows Media Player. Alright, okay, this is great. This is excellent. So it replaced those files. These are still M4A files, which threw me off for a second there, but it's all good. Let's refresh this because I just deleted all of those. Thanks, Microsoft Edge. All right, so we're going to drop Burn It Up into this folder, and it should be uploading. Yep, uploading. How big is that file? 5 megs? Why is it taking this long to upload 5 megs? Might be partially OwnCloud's fault. Okay, so we've got that M4A there, and now we'll refresh over here, and going to download. How do we freaking download? There we go. OwnCloud should make the download button easier to see. So now we go into here. This is the real moment of truth. Will Firefox open up our downloads folder there? Okay, it's got album art and everything. Open with MPV. Guys, okay, it's working. You guys can't hear it, but it's working. Okay, all right. So what we're gonna do now, I'm going to quit at all of these programs here. We're gonna boot back into Linux, and I'm gonna see if I can hear that file in Banshee over on the other. Actually, I'm going to upload the rest of these just so that I can have, you know, the whole album in Banshee at once. Oh man, guys, I think we did it. I'm gonna go back later and do the rest of my iTunes stuff, but for now I'm gonna stop recording, gonna upload the rest of this album into my own cloud, gonna boot back into Arch Linux, download it, throw it into Banshee, and I'll let you guys know what happens. Okay, so I have copied the new files in a folder over here, and I'm in Banshee, and it still is looking at the old files, so I'm going to see if I can rescan Music Library. It's going through. Wow, I have quite a few. Oh, a lot of. Looks like I have an Audacity file somewhere in there. Whoops. But once we're past all of that, now if I go in and it's reloading all of the thumbnails. Is it going to reload all the thumbnails? I hope it does. Some of them are still missing. But let's see if this works. Well, would you look at that?
I'm hot, you're cold. You go around like you know who I am, but you don't. You got me on my toes.
Alrighty, well, as you can see, it works. And they're all going to work at this point. Of course, I only just cared about the one, but none of them are going to have DRM on them anymore. So yeah, clearly, this worked. So I'm going to repeat that with all of my digitally restricted songs that I own in iTunes. And then from now on, I'm still going to buy things from iTunes, because if you buy things from iTunes today, you don't get DRM in it. So Apple has rectified the problem that resulted in me having to do all of that work. It's still a pain that I had to just go do all that work, but yeah, I'm still going to buy things from iTunes, but if they ever try and implement DRM again, then I'll stop buying things from iTunes. But yeah, I'm going to get all of that stuff out of iTunes. I'm going to have the DRM-free versions here, right on my hard drive, and I'll be able to play them under Banshee. I'll be able to sync them to my Android phone. I'll be able to do whatever I want with them. So yeah, I'll include all of the necessary links for doing what I did here down in the description below. Basically, I ended up resorting to iTunes, the burning a CD loophole to get around DRM. The only difference between what I did and actually burning a CD is that I used a virtual, program rather than actually wasting a physical CD. So yeah, I'll include the software to do that down in the description. If you have any questions about this process or you want to discuss DRM in general, you can head on over to the forums at nerdonthestreet.com, or you can of course leave a comment on YouTube or Dailymotion, whichever website you're watching on. For now though, that is how you get around the DRM on your iTunes songs from years ago, back when they had FairPlay DRM in them. There are lots of different theoretical ways to do it. I tried a bunch of them, so you won't have to. That's the best way to do it right there. So I'm Jacob Kaufman with nerdonthestreet.com, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.